This is Weights and Wealth, your one-stop shop for entertaining education on building a stronger body and bank account.
We are not doctors or financial advisors and must warn you this is not medical or investing advice. It is for your entertainment. Welcome back to Weights and Wealth. Today we're going to be talking about decision making and also weighing risk.
Weighing?
Big
Whey and Big Whey.
Yes, we will be talking about Big Whey as well.
All right, Sean, who's our shout out today?
Our shout out will be Garrett from Killeen, Texas, for commenting on Instagram posts and being a loyal listener. Do we want to talk about the Big Whey insight that we have?
Yeah, let's do it. So if you go back to episode 57, we talked about a new study that came out in December that revealed that there's really no limit to how much protein you can consume in one sitting. Your body will use all of it, and it's even more beneficial to consume 100 grams at once than 25 grams at once after your workout.
Yeah, man, eat beef.
Yeah.
Pound of ground beef.
But if you go back to 57, we talk about Big Whey and how they're as controlling as Big Ag and Big Pharma. But after one of our reels went up from that episode, one of our listeners sent us a DM, and he was an intern within Big Whey. So here's what he had to say. He said, ironically, Big Whey does limit things. I interned for Optimum Nutrition one summer. They have a parent company called Glanbia, who is a giant Irish dairy company. And what they do is they don't use any of their own whey. They buy it all from other companies so that when other companies try to raise prices on them, they then flood the market with their own whey to drop the price down and keep it stable. They own Optimum Nutrition, Syntha-6, and about 50 other protein lines, some of which are sold in the United States and some of what are only sold overseas. But it's a really interesting business model because they're able to keep their business so stable by only using their own whey and flooding the market when they have to. So Big Whey is very controlling.
Confirmed. Big Whey, real.
We are not conspiracy theorists, all right? We are, everything we say on this podcast is true.
Fact check, true.
But we thought that was really funny. So to that listener, thank you for sending that in. And we love when our listeners engage with us in the DM. So keep them coming.
And I mean, like if you want like a job, you could go work for Big Whey. But if you get laid off, you have no income. If you don't really have much control over how much you make, and this goes for anything, not just Big Whey, like any type of like 9-to-5 W-2 job. Like if you get laid off, unless you have unemployment insurance or disability insurance, stuff like that, like you can't really control that because that's your boss's decision. You don't really have much control over how much you make unless you're like a high value person coming into the market. Like you got an MBA, 5 to 6 years of experience,
or it's a commission based job.
Yeah, or something like that. You probably don't like your job. That's what studies show. We have a CNBC article here saying that unhappiness is at a staggering all-time high according to various Gallup polls. Roughly 60% of people report being emotionally detached at work, 19% being miserable. So that's even more so. So you could say probably 80% of people are not like on plus. They don't like get up in the morning, sip their coffee, and are like, gosh, I can't wait to get into the office today. But it's 80% of people. 33% reported feeling engaged. So that's over 3/4 saying that they don't feel engaged in their job at all, which probably means that 3/4 of jobs could be eliminated and the economy would still function fine. So that's concerning just for like the actual like real hard productivity of the U.S. economy.
I mean, I saw something like the other day that said knowledge workers tend to put in about 3 hours of real work per day.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
So
100%.
I mean, in the Army, it's more like one.
Not if you have a real job in the Army, Ted. And you're not just some bigwig's little assistant that runs around. 50% of workers feel stressed at their jobs on a daily basis, which I'm kind of that's weird to me, because if only 33% are being engaged, why are 50% feeling stressed? Like, what are you stressed about?
Dude, people are just stressed about everything.
They're just, I don't know. People are neurotic. 41% is being worried, 22% is sad, and 18% is angry. That's from 2022. So working that corporate life a big way might not be the answer you want, but you could argue that it's safer than starting a business, which we recommend. We've talked about that in other episodes, how, the tax code is really built for the small business owner and investor. But I would argue, rather than, just going in raw, like starting with, you have $5,000 in your bank account, and you're like, I'm going to start a t-shirt company. Probably not the best idea if you're like paying for an apartment, living on your own, all that stuff. Find a way to cut your expenses first. Hold on to that 9 to 5, and use that 9 to 5 as leverage to build your path to financial freedom. What? Yeah. Use your 5 to 9, because that way, like, you have that source of steady income that you can keep a roof over your head, food in your belly, and, a beer in your hand. And you'll be able to build that second business far more effectively and efficiently, and not drown yourself in debt right away. So it's a far more secure source of funding than, taking out conventional loans, personal loans, a HELOC on your house.
I think it also depends on like the business though, and also who you're talking to. Because for some people, just kind of jumping off the cliff and having to have success right away is going to help them a lot more.
100%. But like, if like that's kind of saying, like, based on emotional, like, candidates, that's not really like an intelligent way to do things.
Yeah.
You know what
it's
I'm
the
saying?
no plan B route. Just like
I mean, if
this is what we're doing.
If you don't give a crap, do that.
Yeah.
But like, if you are even slightly risk averse, like, you should probably keep your job for at least a little while until you figure out what the hell you're doing. Because if you're just jumping off into the deep end with no parachute, not a reserve chute, and probably not even knowing how tall the cliff is, like, it's gonna be a long fall and a very painful impact at the end.
Yeah, and like you also got to gain some experience before you make that jump.
100%.
Like, you actually have to know what's going on. Most people can't just graduate college and then start their own business. I mean, most people are starting them in like their, I think, early 40s is like the average age to start a business. And
what percentage of, we've gone over before, the statistic of how many businesses fail? Is it like 80% of startups?
It's very high. I think within like 5 years, 80% are done.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not wits and wealth. Here for the long haul.
So, I mean, at the same time that you're gaining that experience, you can also be building up an emergency fund like, most people recommend having like a year's worth of expenses. Just assume that your business won't be profitable for a while. Because also, if you're starting a business and you're just continually pulling money out to live on, then you really won't be able to grow it as fast, because you won't be able to put that back in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure, you know about that.
Do you know about stunting growth? That's why I'm the shortest of all my brothers. Didn't sleep at all in high school or college. All right, should we move on to today's topic, Nick?
Yeah.
Decision making?
Yeah, we got decision making. So, I mean, people make, thousands of choices a day. And, most of these are subconscious. Like, we actually don't think, we just kind of go on autopilot. Like, you wake up, take a shower, brush your teeth, make breakfast, without really thinking too much about it.
Should you though?
Should you? I mean,
Ted might need to know.
I mean, to go through this exercise every morning once you wake up and to decide whether or not to take a shower, I feel like that would be a lot of brain power.
It would be, yeah.
Used.
I think I'm the only one that showered this morning also.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we stopped recording around 2 last night and started at 7 this morning. So, but for these larger decisions. We'll be going through an exercise of picking a major today. But you could be changing a job, who you're going to marry. I know Ted and I went through, in one of our episodes, we went through everything that we look for in a woman. Mm-hmm. For these larger decisions, it's very good to actually go through like a formalized process, and it forces yourself to kind of think about it. And
for marriage, you might as well.
So first step, identify the decision. You have to be very clear about what your objective is and what your choice is, and what you're making your choice about. So for picking a major, you kind of have to have your why. Like most people, it's get a job. Some people, it's just learn something interesting. And then after that, you have to gather information. You can go on Google. Best way is to really talk about it with people, like people in the profession. Gather salary data. A lot of people in college think that they'll come out making $80,000 a year, and that's just not the case. Most people start in the 50s, and then you can work up pretty quickly once you graduate. But most people don't start off making that much. And let's see what else I have here. Oh, and this is also where you kind of figure out what matters to you. Whether it's high salary, job satisfaction, work-life balance, what be it. And then you can identify the alternatives. So there are a lot of alternatives. You have your main one of picking a major, going to college. An alternative would be a different major than the one you have chosen.
Or trade school.
There are multiple ways. I have some buddies who they did it's called technical systems management. Shout out Peter Jacques. But they do the same job as a project engineer. So it's like glorified construction management, but they're doing the same job as a civil engineer, and they get paid the same. But it's way less STEM work. It's a little more like how to actually manage a job site, and far wider. It's a wider spread of knowledge and not as narrow and focused as engineering. So it's if you're someone that struggles with or isn't a huge math guy, but you want to be involved in building stuff, maybe that's a major for you. There's plenty of ways to approach that, finance versus economics. You can still work on Wall Street with both of those degrees. You can work on Wall Street with any degree, really. But it's how do you get there? And you have to kind of play to your strengths sometimes, because what's going to matter more if you're getting hired straight out of college is your internship experience, probably number one. And then your GPA and, your academic performance, whether it's your thesis and stuff like that. That's what's going to set you apart.
Going back to Nick's second step, the gathering information. A lot of people, especially for the example we're using in this episode for our younger audience, picking a major, a lot of people don't really gather a lot of information and wouldn't know technical system management is an option, right? They'll just be oh, my options are engineering or business, and then they don't gather any further information. So it's important to look at a bunch of different avenues to try to gather as much information as possible, or you're not going to know those options are out there.
Yeah, talk to the people that are doing what you want to do and see how they got there. That's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. And Sean mentioned going to what was it, a technical school? Is that what he said, or
no, I think
trade school or something.
Yeah. So technical school. You can drop out and work, drop out and do nothing. It's really important to list all the alternatives. Just try to think of as many as possible.
I think if you make under $60K in Illinois, you're better off being unemployed due to the unemployment benefits. So do a little research on that.
I know in Wisconsin I saw something, and depending on a bunch of factors, you can have the equivalent income of $100,000 being unemployed.
What? Yeah, it's crazy. You can be rolling in it.
Yeah.
And be a neat.
Yeah. So after you have all your alternatives, you're going to weigh the evidence on each alternative, and pick out like the different details of each one and kind of put them on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the least important, 5 being the most important. And then essentially just seeing which alternative hits the most boxes that are the most important to you. And then after that, you actually make your choice. You pick your major, you take action. And then afterwards you evaluate it. I mean, you can't really go back and undo that. And I mean, you can always go back to school, but it's very important to evaluate your decision. And then you can, change your decision-making process in the future.
100%. I mean, like there is wiggle room, particularly in college. Like if you go in your freshman year and you're at a normal school where they require you to take, gen eds and stuff like that, you can take, 1 or 2 classes in your intended major, test it out and knock out the rest of your gen eds and be like, oh, wow, I really hated Business 101. And I really, really liked art. I don't know, something like that. But that holds true for anything. Like maybe you took a math class, like some sort of like advanced algebra or statistics or calculus. And you were like, wow, like this professor's really awesome. Like I want to major in math now because I can study under this guy. I almost did that my freshman year because I took physics and I had this one professor that just blew it out of the water, was awesome, incredible. Like if I had the opportunity to stay under him, I would have potentially been a physics major. And I'm not a math person at all, but this guy was so good at teaching and so like informative and made it so much more interesting that I was like, I would 100% at least minor in physics because of this guy's influence. So like if you can, hit a gold mine like that might change your whole perspective on things. So if you're going through this process, I would recommend that you definitely like test it out, give it a beta test and see if it's, functional. And then, then you can go and review your decision and its consequences, like see how that actually plays out.
Did you guys change majors at all?
No, but I almost did at a point. I almost changed to stats, but it would have been like beginning of my junior year. So I would have had to do a 5th year, which is why I didn't end up changing it. Just because I really enjoyed that class. But also the part of like the tough part about being in school is that the classes aren't really representative of what working in the job is like.
100%.
Which is why it's so important to gather evidence and talk to people who are actually doing it.
Yeah. Learn from other people's experiences, not just your own.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Sean mentioned, interning, like that's where you can actually get real world experience and figure out if you like what you're about to go into for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Like don't wait on the internship. Like if you can get one after freshman year, get one after freshman year. Don't be that person that waits till like, oh, junior year, now it's time for my big boy internship where I'm doing a job. No, you should be applying every single year. You should have an internship every single summer. Or at least do something significant. Like if you're not doing an internship, do like a great service project that really makes you stand out. Don't just go back and be a lifeguard,
Speaking of service projects, we got episode coming out. Episode, 68 or 69? A few episodes from now, we'll be going over Toxic Charity, a book.
Oh, yeah.
We record these out of order, so it's coming soon.
No, we don't. We do it perfectly in order. It makes sense.
Maybe we'll do a weights and wealth service project at some point.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that all you had for decision making?
Well.
Is there more steps?
I mean,
looks like there's
that was all the steps. I just kind of wanted to add. That's for like big choices. For little choices, really try not to use the brain power or sweat over small things like what you're going to eat for breakfast. What you're going to watch on TV. Like those things aren't very important, so you don't really have to like think too much about them. You know, I mean, there's that, like, people will spend a half hour looking for a movie and then not actually end up watching anything because they ran out of time. So
I feel like some
you
people
could argue that's good.
Yeah,
you could.
I
feel like some
media
people actually
consume like influences you.
I feel like some people actually get stressed by like having to pick a movie or something like that, which is crazy that having that many options does that to people.
Yeah. Analysis paralysis. You know, well, I mean, in some ways it's a good thing because you probably shouldn't be watching as much TV. You know, whatever you put into your mind is, you know, it's your brain diet. So what books you're reading, what movies you're watching, what music you listen to, all of that is the diet for your brain. And so if you're eating, you know, fast food, you're going to get fat. If you're consuming nothing mentally, like, you're going to get fat in the brain. In that thick brain.
If you want us to make your decisions for you on entertainment, just ask us what book to read, and we'll just give you a book, and then just get that book and read it.
We are taking volunteers for a human experiment where we get to make every decision in your life for I'd say like 48 hours. I think that'd be funny.
We're also still taking applications for a video editor on a slightly more important note.
Also means that we get to make decisions for your entire life. Intense labor. That's nasty.
All right. That's it. Thank you for watching.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Closing out.
Thanks for joining us today at Weights and Wealth. And don't forget to apply today's lessons to live healthy and wealthy.
If this conversation will contribute to your fitness and financial gains, please share it with a friend or family member and give a 5-star review so more people can lift bigger weights and get bigger bank accounts.